Hello everyone and welcome to a series of tutorials on modern C++. In this particular tutorial, you will learn how to use the range-based for loops in C++. They are introduced in the C++ 11 standard. The range-based for loop is a compressed and less verbose way of formulating loops and iterations. And in many modern C++ books, as well as if you look into modern C++ code, you will see range-based for loops. Consequently, it's very important to properly understand how to write these loops. These loops use the auto keyword that enables the automatic type deduction. Range-based for loops enable us to easily iterate over elements of STL. STL is the standard template library which contains containers, arrays, and similar data types and structures. However, as you will see in this tutorial, range-based for loops are deceptively simple, and there are a number of things that you need to consider when using them. People often improperly use them, and this leads to code bugs. So consequently, it's very important to properly understand how to properly write them and use them. First, we are going to explain the general syntax, and later on we will start with implementation and with coding. Over here, you can see the general syntax. You write for, similarly to the standard for loops. Then you have the first part, which consists of variable declaration, and then you have the second part, which consists of range expression. Let's focus on the variable declaration. Variable declaration declares a variable type that will sequentially take values of each element in the range expression. We often use automatic data type keyword auto followed by a variable name. Then we have range expression. Range expression is the expression representing the range to iterate over. This can be an array, vector, list, container, or a similar data type. Here we have three use cases, and to illustrate them, let's declare a vector of doubles. Let's call it array1, and let's initialize it with 1.2, 3, minus 2.0, and 7. Here are the three popular use cases. We are going to go over these cases and we will code them separately in the sequel. The first use case looks like this. For, then over here we have auto x, and then we have array1. This array1 refers to this declared array1. Here, x iterates over the elements of array1, and in a single iteration, x is a copy of an element of array1. Over here, I didn't specify any code. However, if you would use x inside of this code, this is how this for loop will reveal itself. So what will happen? First, x will be a copy of 1.2, then in the next iteration x will be a copy of 3, then in the next iteration xb will be a copy of minus 2.0, and in the final iteration x will be a copy of 7. I'm going to explain and emphasize this later on in the tutorial. X is not an actual element, x is actually a copy, and this is what a lot of people do not understand. Then here's the second use case. We type for, then auto, and then we have this reference symbol x, array1. Here, similarly to the first case, x iterates over the elements of array1, and in a single iteration, x is a reference to an element of array1. Aha! Over here, x will be 1.2, 3, minus 2.0, and 7. However, x will not be a copy. X will actually represent the actual element. This is very important, and the consequences of this will be explained later on. And here is the third use case for const auto, then reference symbol x, array1. X iterates over the elements of array1, and in a single iteration, x is a const reference to an element of array1. Similarly to the second use case, here we are using a reference. However, this is a const reference, meaning that x cannot change the value inside of array 1. In the sequel, we are going to code and explain through examples these three use cases. Let's focus on the first case. Here, first we are going to explain the main idea and then we are going to start with coding. So again, we have our vector called array1, and here is the base syntax, auto_x array1. Again, in every iteration, x is a copy of an element of array1. Keep in mind that if we have vector of class objects, then in every iteration, a copy constructor will be called to get x, and this is the disadvantage of this approach. This is a highly inefficient and not recommended for large classes. We can use this approach for vectors of integers, doubles, or simple data types which are cheap to copy. That is, if you want to iterate over vector of doubles of integers, you can use this simple approach. However, if here, for example, you have a declaration of a vector of class objects where every class object is, for example, 10 megabytes, then in every iteration over here, you're going to call a copy constructor, you're going to reserve the memory space, and this will take some time, and you will lose precious computational time. Consequently, this approach is only used for basic cases. Another drawback of this approach, or maybe advantage depending on a case, is that we cannot modify array1 by modifying temporary copied values stored in X, and this will be explained through example. And then, if you want to print out or observe elements of array1, there is a more efficient approach by using const references that will be explained in the sequel. Okay, let's start with coding. Let's open a new file, and I will call this file as test1.cpp. I will save it, and first of all, let's include vector, since we need vector, header file, and let's include basic input-output stream header file. Okay, now that we are there, let's start with our main function over here, and then let's start implementing. First of all, let's declare and initialize our vector. Here we need to type something like this, and then we need to specify a data type, double. Okay, and over here I will call it as array1, and then I'm going to initialize it by the values 1.2, 3, -2, and 0.7. Let's say only 4 values. So let's end, and let's first explain how to print the values. To print the values, we can simply type 4, then we type auto_x, then we specify the range, and then inside let's type this. So let's see what we need to do. We are simply going to call a function for printing the response. Here the number is, and then we are going to simply print the number. Then I'm going to end the line. I need to use std end line. That's it. Okay, this is a basic use. So you declare a vector, then you specify auto_x array1. Here x will take the values inside of this array. First it will be 1.2, 3, -2, 0.7. However, the issue over here is that x is a copy. That is, if you modify x in some way, you cannot change array1. And I will explain that later on. Let's try to compile this. Let's save. Let's go back to the terminal, and let's type something like this, test1, and I will call the executable as test1. As you can see, I'm using G++. And if I compile this, I can simply type test1, and now the elements will be printed. You can see that first the x value is 1.2, then 3, then -2, and finally 0.7. Let me explain you now what happens if you try to modify the entries. So let's now write a similar for loop. So let's do this, auto_x, then let's do array1, And then over here, let's do the following. Let's type something like this. X is equal to x multiplied by 2. Now, a lot of people who are not familiar with for-based loops in modern C++ will think that we will be able to directly modify the elements of array 1. However, this is not the case. And to show you this, after this, I'm going to again print the entries, and let's see what happens. Someone might expect that this printing statement or this printing for loop will actually print the doubled entries. However, this will not be the case. So let's confirm this, and then let's now compile, and then let's run test 1, and here you can see that the elements are not doubled. And this confirms our previous statement that x is actually a copy of the entries of the original array. So keep in mind that. Then here's the second case that solves some of the issues with the first case. Again, we declare and initialize an array, and here's how the syntax looks. For auto, and then we have a reference operator or a symbol x array 1. Here, in every iteration, x is a reference to an element of array 1. In this way, we can modify the elements of array 1 in place by modifying x. This is a highly efficient way of modifying the entries, since we are not copying them first as values and then storing them in x. Instead, x is a reference or an alias to an element of array 1. We use this approach when we want to modify the elements. So let's code this example, and this is the best way to learn how to use it, that is by coding. Okay, let's start. So let's open a new file. Let's call this file as test2.cpp. Let's save this file, and let's start with coding. First of all, we need this first part, so I'm just going to copy this. We are including vector and input-output stream, and then let's copy this part over here to save time. So I'm going to create a main function, return 0 over here, and here's my declaration. Good. Now, again, let's write a for loop. So we have for, and then inside we need to type this auto, then the reference x in array 1, basically. And then here we will do the following. We will simply say x is equal to x multiplied by 2. Now, since x is a reference to an entry inside of array 1, the actual entries of array 1 will be doubled. Okay, now before we do this, let's simply print out the entries. So let's type something like this. Let's use the standard loop, and then let's type just cout. The number is, and here I need std cout. The number is, and then let's do this, x, and then let's do std endline. Okay, good. So here we are going to first print the entries, then we are going to double them, and then finally let's print them again by copying this for loop and pasting it over here. And this will do everything. So first of all, we are printing, then we are using reference to double the entries, and finally we are printing everything. So let's save this, let's compile this by typing something like this, and then let's see, and finally let's run test 2, and let's see the result. So this is the original array, and this is the doubled array. Congratulations, it works. And in this way, you can modify the entries by using for loops. And finally, we need to explain the third test case. The third case of the basic usage of the for loop looks like this. Again, we have declaration and initialization, and then here we type const auto reference x array 1. Here, in every iteration, x is a const reference to an element of array 1. In this way, we can access the entries of array 1 without copying them. However, we cannot modify them since x is a const reference. This is a highly efficient way of printing or observing the entries. You should use this approach when you want to observe the entries of a container. So let's implement this approach. Okay, so let's start. Here I'm going to open a new file and I will call it as test3.cpp. Then I'll save it. Here it is. Here's our int main, return 0. And over here we have this part. Let's copy this. Let's put it here. And then let's type this for const auto and then reference to x. Then we have here array 1 and then here we have std cout. The number is, and here it is, x, and then we do std end line, and that's it. Okay, simple as that. You see the convenience of this approach. The difference between this approach and the approach that only uses auto x is that here x is a const reference and we are not copying the entries over here, and this is highly efficient approach for observing or printing the entries of large containers. So let's save this and let's execute this. First of all, let's compile it. Here it is. And then finally, let's run it. And here it is. Simple as that. Okay, that's all for today, and thanks for watching.